What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be tackling another project on the Honda Civic. We're going to be restoring these headlights from this to this. What we are going to be tackling today is a headlight restoration. We're going to be taking these crusty, ishy, yellow looking headlights and making them nice, fresh, and clear again. Both headlight assemblies were replaced maybe 11 or 12 years ago, and it was mainly parked outdoors until recently when we moved into this new home. It's seen a lot of weather, a lot of heat and sun fading, so we're gonna try and make these things fresh and new again with a simple headlight cleaning kit. Today we are trying Griot's ceramic headlight restoration kit. It is not sponsored, but I've tried many other types of cleaning kits in the past and they just don't do the job. So we're gonna give this a try and see how it works. When you open the box, you will receive a few items: the ceramic headlight coating, oxidation remover, some sanding pads, and a grip for those sanding pads, some gloves, and your instructions. You will also need some sort of masking tape or scotch tape that's not going to damage your paint, and a spray bottle for when sanding the headlights. You will also need some sort of clean washcloth or towel to be able to wipe the headlights off in between steps and make sure all of the debris is clean and clear off of the headlight before proceeding to the next steps. Now on the back of the box, it does show a before and after for your visibility in the dark. We're actually going to try that out as well. We're going to take the car out real quick. I'll show you an inside the car view and we'll get out and walk around just so you can see what the headlights look like in the dark before we actually do the restoration. Then we'll do it again after we do the restoration kit on the headlights so that we can see if there's any difference or change in the headlight clarity. All right, so we are sitting in the vehicle, just looking out forward. This is the low beams, and then this is what the high beams look like. Now this is an outside view of what the headlights currently look like. You can kind of tell they're really cloudy, they're really kind of ishy looking. We're gonna try and make those nice, fresh, and clear. All right, now what we need to do first, it is step number one. We need to clean and prep the surface. We need to wipe the headlights down, make sure there's not any weird oils or residue stuck on the headlight. And we also need to tape off around the surrounding areas. We're going to tape around top and bottom and both sides of the headlights, just so when we're sanding, we don't accidentally hit the paint and scratch or scuff the paint. And we don't want any of that oxidation remover to get onto the paint. That can actually damage and hurt your paint. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure we keep all of the paint intact. Even though it's kind of old and faded too, we don't want to damage it any more than we have to. We're just going to start off by spraying some water on the headlight, wiping it off, making sure it's nice and dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Now we're going to tape off all the way around the headlight, so when we're sanding the headlight off and getting all this ishy residue off, we're not scratching the paint by mistake, and we're just focusing on the headlight. We can now move to the next step of the process. Make sure you put on those gloves that are provided. We're going to start on the passenger side. This is going to be kind of the test. We're going to use the oxidation remover. We're going to remove it from the pack and then use a swirling motion and go from one side of the headlight to the top and the bottom, all the way across the headlight. And then you'll fold that a few times back and forth, and it should turn this completely yellow. We're pulling all of that ishy yellow color out of there as we can before we move to the next step. All right, let's see if this works. Just leave it folded, and we're just gonna start wiping it from one side to the other, and it should turn this thing yellow. That's how you know it's actually like working how it should. If you get any of this onto your paint, just try and wipe it off and clean it as soon as you can so that it doesn't pull any of the clear coat or anything off of your paint. See, it's starting to turn that yellow. We're gonna flip this over and go over it again. Try and get as much of that yellow color out there as we can. Now doing it a second time, it's actually pulling even more now that it's kind of sitting. So we'll just kind of open this up, fold it over again. We'll go over it a few more times and then we'll do the other one. And then we'll get this all cleaned up, dried, and then move on to the next step of the process. Now that we wiped off both headlights, we're going to rinse them off and get them nice and clean and dry again. And then we're gonna move into the sanding process. So step number 2 is the sanding process. We're going to start off with the 1000 grit sand pads with the little holder for them. It's just Velcro, sticks right on. There's 2 1000 pads, 1 per headlight. We're gonna go completely all the way through it, make sure it swirls. We're going to use that spray bottle. You wanna keep the headlight damp while you're using the sanding pads. Then we'll move on to the 2000 grit and then finally the 3000 grit to make sure all of these scratches or abrasion from the 1000 grit pads are taken out and everything is nice and smooth and polished. So again, we're going to start over on the passenger side. We are going to vigorously sand this according to the instructions. We're going to make sure it stays damp while we're sanding this. Make sure everything all the way across is sanded. You don't want to miss any spots. And then we'll get it sprayed off and wipe it all down before we move on to the 2000 grit and the 3000 grit pads. So we'll just get this started. We'll kind of give light mist and just start doing circles all the way around. Make sure you get all of the headlight. Don't miss any of it. It should get kind of a creamy white look to it. That's how you know you've actually gone all the way across the headlight. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on this, just enough to where it's actually, doing the work for itself. Just enough to get constant pressure, work all the way around the headlight a few times. For, I think it's about 3 or 4 minutes that they call out for. We're probably gonna go with around 3 minutes. All right, I got both headlights sanded with the 1000 grit sandpaper. Now we're gonna move on to the 2000. There's only 1 pad of 2000 and 1 pad of the 3000. You're gonna use this pad on both headlights. You're gonna repeat the same process we just did. Sand each headlight for around 3 or 4 minutes with water to make sure that you're not scratching more than you need to. We're basically just buffing the outer layer of the lens. It's kind of a weird white look right now because it's plastic. We're trying to remove that outer layer of plastic to make it nice and fresh. So we're gonna go ahead with the 2000 grit for about 3-4 minutes and then move on to the other headlight and get this all knocked out real quick. And then we'll move on to the 3000 grit and make sure all of the little scratches from the 1000 are removed so it's nice and polished. And then we'll move on to the final step of the process. The headlights are completely sanded with 1000, 2000, and 3000 grit. They should not be clear and shiny. They should have a little bit of fogginess to them. If there is any shininess to them or they are not kind of like a white foggy look, you didn't sand the headlight quite enough. Make sure you thoroughly sand the entire headlight. Make sure that there is no shiny or clearness to the headlight before you move on to the ceramic coating process. Step number 3 is applying the ceramic coating with the provided wipes. We are only doing 1 coat. That is what is required. That's what they instruct you to do in the instructions. So we're gonna move on to that step next. Make sure the headlights are completely dry before you do this step of the process. You don't want any water stuck in that when you're going to wipe that ceramic coating over the headlight. Then after we do the ceramic coating, we need to leave the headlight sit for at least 60 minutes before exposing it to outdoor moisture, wind, debris, or anything like that, or before driving. So when you apply this, make sure the car is able to sit and let that ceramic coating dry properly. Now we're gonna move on to applying the ceramic coating. You have 1 packet per headlight. Make sure you have your gloves on. You don't want this getting on your hands. Now we're just gonna open this up, leave it folded just like we did with the previous pad. And then we are going to do a up and down motion on the headlight and overlap 50% of your previous pass until you go all the way across the headlight. Only do this 1 time. And there you have it. We got the ceramic coating on. We now have to just leave it sit for at least 60 minutes or 1 hour before we take off the tape. These things look like they're brand new already, and it's not even fully cured or dry. That's wild. Way better than before. We'll have to do a side-by-side comparison so you guys can kind of see the difference when we started versus what it looks like now, but dang, those look really nice and fresh. I think this kit was a win. It is now the next day or the next night. I left the headlights cure basically 24 hours. We want to be able to replicate the same shot, like the before shot in the dark. So I needed to wait until it was dark to be able to show you guys from the inside of the car pointed out and from the outside pointed towards the headlights. So it's kind of rainy and a little bit snowy right now, but that might actually make for a kind of a cool shot, kind of close up on the headlight with some snowflakes flying in. So we'll see if we can get a decent shot for you guys, but I'll show you what they look like inside the garage right now. These things look like they're almost brand new, which is insane for a headlight restoration kit. So I'll show those to you guys right now. They look pretty good, right? Now we're gonna go outside, check them out in the dark and see what they look like. Hopefully they're way brighter and hopefully we can see a farther distance when sitting inside the car. All right, like I said, it's a little bit rainy out right now. So I'll try and give you the clearest view through the windshield, but right now this is the low beams. We'll do kind of back and forth between before and after. So right now, this is after the headlight restoration. We'll put a little clip from before the restoration. And now this is the high beams after the restoration. Like, that's insane how much brighter that looks to me. I can see it on camera here and just in person, way brighter. So we'll get out and show you guys what it looks like outside of the vehicle as well. Yeah, even outside the vehicle, these things look way brighter, so crisp and clear. Way better. And there you have it. This headlight restoration kit worked great. They are like brand new headlights. Absolutely incredible what they look like out in the dark. This will drastically improve driving at night or early in the morning when it's dark. It gets my stamp of approval. That's going to wrap up today's episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.